Bonjour à tous. Aujourd'hui, je vous propose une vidéo exceptionnelle avec un invité de marque, Jim Swearingen, l'ancien designer de Kenner, l'homme par qui Star Wars est arrivé dans l'entreprise de Cincinnati. Il a non seulement été à l'initiative des négociations commerciales entre la Fox, Lucasfilm et Kenner, mais il est aussi le concepteur des 12 premiers personnages de la gamme, ainsi que la figurine de Boba Fett, les 2 premiers vaisseaux de la saga, le chasseur Helix et le chasseur TIE. Jim a eu la gentillesse de visiter l'exposition Figurines à l'ancienne poste de Versailles, où j'expose une partie de ma collection de jouets jusqu'au 28 juin 2026. Imaginez, le père des jouets Kenner, Star Wars, se remémorant son travail devant mes vitrines. Un moment que je ne suis pas prêt d'oublier et dont j'ai le plaisir de partager quelques extraits de sa visite avec vous aujourd'hui. Participer à l'exposition L'univers des figurines à Versailles est déjà en soi un événement pour moi qui n'ai jamais été acteur d'une telle aventure. Présenter ainsi une partie de sa collection au grand public m'a permis de faire de belles rencontres autour de ces 5 vitrines qui m'ont été allouées, où je présente l'ensemble des 96 figurines et certaines de leurs variations produites par Kenner entre 1978 et 1985. De l'enveloppe Early Bird avec son coffret postal du même nom, équipé des 4 premiers personnages distribués au printemps 1978, en passant par la vitrine dédiée au retour du Jedi, avec le chef des contrebandiers Jabba the Hutt, accompagné de Max Rebo, sorte d'éléphant bleu et son orchestre. Chaque vitrine regroupe chaque personnage vu dans l'un des 3 films de la trilogie d'origine. La 5e vitrine regroupe un échantillon des figurines avec leur emballage, américain et français, dans l'ordre chronologique de distribution, afin de comprendre l'évolution de la charte graphique au cours de cette période. Tout est prêt pour accueillir dans les meilleures conditions notre invité spécialement venu des États-Unis pour cette exposition de jouets. J'en ai profité pour lui poser quelques questions sur le développement de nos figurines préférées et nous allons commencer avec les premiers personnages créés entre 1978 et 1979 pour Star Wars, Un Nouvel Espoir. So, Jim, I have one question about the small and big head. Han Solo's big head. Why does it come that way? Why do you have to change it?
I don't know for sure, but my conjecture of what I suppose happened is that when we were in this series, there was such a rush to get product out to market. A sub-licensor or a fellow that had a molding machine or a little setup to be able to do figures possibly lost or damaged the original mold.
Oh.
Or somehow didn't have the right head. So my concept would be that they took a mold of a production figure, made a mold, made a hard copy, and then they would be using that for cutting the tools.
All right.
So somewhere in translating that head into a production mold, the panographing that they did, because the heads, they calculated incorrectly and probably cut the tool off of a facsimile of the original. So that's my concept. Somebody could probably prove me wrong, but it's one of those things where the production we had, the manufacturer would say, hey, we've got 5,000 Han Solos. They all have really bad, distorted heads, are too big. And the marketing people back in Cincinnati would have said, well, okay, he had choices. He could rework them, have all these things scrapped and started over, or they could sell them just the way they were. And when it's that hot, you wouldn't go back and scrap whatever. So some people call them variations.
Yeah.
It's really probably a manufacturing mistake.
Okay.
Our sculptors at Kenner had to work very hard to match up the different materials they were made in. The heads are vinyl and the bodies were ABS. When they're sculpting, first they have to look good, but they also have to manufacture. When we get down to the final, production, they had to calculate shrink into all the processes.
All right.
So you have wax, a rubber mold, and each step in the process, there's a different shrinkage rate. ABS shrinks either more or less than vinyl, so you want them all to meet at the end and look right. And I somewhere in the manufacturing of those big head Han Solos, there was a mistake made, and now they're collectible because now you have to have both Han Solos.
That's right. And about the Jawa vinyl cape, there's also a story behind. You know why you decided to change it from the vinyl cape to the cloth cape?
Originally, the way it was presented, it was the Jawas to come with the cloth cape. In the production design group, they were costing out fabric versus vinyl because all the other figures, Obi-Wan and Princess Leia and Darth Vader, all had vinyl capes. At one point they were thinking, well, if the cloth cape looked like a better value. They were originally going to go with this cloth cape, but that cost too much. So they went with the vinyl. Reliability problems because the vinyl would tear when you tried to take his cape off. So they went back to the fabric.
It was the time when you were on the rush to create all those figures.
Yeah.
So for the blue snaggletooth and the red snaggletooth, there's also a story behind.
Yeah. Now this is beyond me because
okay.
we but the blue snaggletooth came into existence because they wanted another character. They saw all you see of him is from his shoulders up. The designers and sculptors came up with the blue snaggletooth character, which looks a little like science fiction-y. But then it went all the way through the process. You know, in the process, we'd do drawings, those would be shipped out to California. We'd do waxes that are approved. And somewhere in that shuffle and the rush, probably, he got approved and went into production. And then when they finally came out to market, then somebody started reacting and saying, hey, that character was only 3 feet tall. So they went back and resculpted him and came back with the red snaggletooth.
And Boba Fett was also a big story behind because of the Firering rocket was cancelled, basically.
Yeah, Boba Fett was going to be a secret project. And that's why I got involved with Boba Fett. George was very jealous of his babies, his movie. He didn't want much of it getting out before the movie broke. Especially the salespeople at Kenner wanted something to juice up the line. They wanted something to create a stir. Because we were manufacturing, figures and ships and stuff, and they were still pretty hot. But anytime you go from almost straight up to just a little bit of, you're looking like you're going to peak at all, the salespeople got nervous. Because it was so easy to sell earlier, and now it's getting harder to sell. So George relented and let us do what became Boba Fett. At the time, we didn't know who he was. So I got to go out and take pictures of him and build the prototype, the one that's in this picture. But we were madly working on him. He had to go ahead, and we're still trying to keep it a pretty close secret. And in the middle of, we've had the final sculpture, we had the mechanisms. They were doing prototypes. They were actually using the molds and they were working on reliability. That's why there's L slots and J slots. The L slot was the original one. It was less reliable. They were worried about it malfunctioning and firing by accident, so you might hit yourself. But in the middle of that process, Mattel had a project. They had a spaceship that fired missiles, and a child had fired it into his own mouth. He choked on it.
Is it the Battlestar Galactica?
Yeah. In the toy business, all the quality and safety people all know each other. They meet at Toy Fair. They periodically have get-togethers, and anytime there was some kind of defect that might affect other, whatever, you found that paint that had too much lead in it or some other thing, they would contact them. So our safety guy got a call from the Mattel guy and said, we have this problem. We had one of our Galactica a kid had aspirated their missiles and died, and they had injured a couple other kids. So immediately they called out the other company and shared that information, and our safety and reliability person knew that we were working on a product that had our firing missile. So all he had to do was call the engineering director or vice president, then he would call the marketing and the president of the company and say, you have to get that weapon out of the Boba Fett. So we just took over, it's like, all stop, how do we solve the issue?
Yes.
Periodically you would do things like that where you would solve the issue, but in this case the kid had been really harmed by the product, so it was like, we're just not going to take that risk.
And it was the same decision when the 12-inch Boba Fett figures have also some kind of rocket from his front arm.
We might have been looking at that, but that didn't get as far as the...
Okay. And also the Imperial Troop Transporter had a rocket firing as well.
Yeah. All that stuff gets
all canceled.
Yeah. When we got the word that Mattel had a problem, it's like we don't even discuss it.
Yeah, sure.
That decision's already been made before the phone call.
Okay, so now, Jim, we're on the front of the Empire Strikes Back action figures line. There are like 30 action figures. And what can you tell us about the bounty hunters?
The story about the one bounty hunter, the character known as 4LOM, similar character to Zuckus, but 4LOM didn't have a name. The marketing person at Kenner was asking for names from the people at Lucasfilm. So they were mulling over ideas, and he decided, he went ahead and named him. So 4LOM, the bounty hunter, is actually stands for love of money, which is very apt for a bounty hunter.
Yeah.
You hunt for, you're going out to hunt bounties, and what's it for? It's all to get money. Imperial credits at the time.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't have the space for it, but I wanted to display the so I used one of the Toy Fair catalog from 1981 to display at least the connection between the Empire Strikes Back, which is such a huge toy, probably one of the biggest in the market at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And the engineering behind is quite huge for it. You worked on the Tauntaun?
I did. I worked on the Tauntaun. I invented the flap.
The flap,
the trap door, because the figures only had single plane articulation, so they couldn't straddle anything. So, and then the saddlebags are sculpted to look like
the legs
of a character. Yeah. So it was one way for our characters to ride stuff. Dewback, and it was in the Tauntaun.
So you do the dewback first, and then you add the process?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
I'm not sure, because they both ended up with it. And the dewback wouldn't be natural, it would be the first one.
For instance, you see the dewback, they had a date patent from 1979, and it's the same for Tauntaun, where it was released in 1980, but the patent stamp is 1979 under one of the legs. Yeah. So that's probably been processed in the same time.
Yeah, I saw the Tauntauns the early 79.
Okay.
Because I got to go to Elstree Studio and see them. And saw the Hoth planet. So
okay.
So I think they may have been coincidental as far as product, but the trapdoor is my invention.
Yeah, your invention. So here, last but not least, the Early Bird project. This is where Star Wars with Kenner start basically with the Early Bird certificate package, and then a few months later you receive the actual 4 first figures of the Star Wars toys history. So which one did you work on exactly? Did you work on the packaging as well, or just the action figures?
My part in the Early Bird was the figures that actually ended up in the assortment. These are probably the first to get the most attention, because we knew when from the very first time we started, we were not going to be able to get product out until 1978, no matter what we did. These were going into production to push the most. All the schedules were like crashed for those. But because we weren't going to have them out until 1978, someone came up with the idea, hey, why don't we sell a promise? We'll go to the retailers and we'll come out with an idea that we can promise to sell product. It wasn't that it sold so many products, and it probably wouldn't have made a lot of money, but the brilliant part of it was that pre-Christmas, when these are in Toys R Us and KD Toys in the States, the news station, a local station or a national news station, would do a story about this kind of outrageous idea that a toy company would promise to sell you a toy. You know, they would actually tell you, you know, buy this thing and we'll send you something later. So all those 30-second clips or minute-long stories on any news program was worth $1 million because you couldn't buy that much time in every market. So it was really just a brilliant thing from a PR standpoint, because then the few people that were outraged wanted one, and the kids that saw it had to have it after the movie. So it was really a brilliant thing. Not so much from the sales point of view, but from the PR and keeping Star Wars at the top of the news.
Yeah, exactly. And then in spring 1978, the very first action figure came by mail.
In a little box. You know, every kid's dream that got one of these envelopes at Christmas. Now they had to wait. Well, the package, they probably could figure out when it was shipped, but it's really cool. Yeah. It really was.
That's
amazing.
Great. So thanks again, Jim, to share all this news with us.
You're welcome.
It was a great time, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and see you soon for more videos.
J'avais des dizaines de questions en tête au moment de nous quitter, mais cette visite restera à jamais gravée dans ma mémoire. Mon premier entretien avec le premier des designers à avoir cru au projet Star Wars, à une époque où personne ne mesurait l'énorme potentiel de l'univers imaginé par George Lucas. Si des millions d'enfants, à la fin des années 70 et début 80, ont pu laisser libre cours à leur imagination avec ces jouets extraordinaires, c'est grâce à des passionnés comme Jim, qui ont mis tout leur cœur. Et c'est pour cela que nous en parlons encore, près de 50 ans après leur création. Merci Jim, merci Kenner de nous avoir fait rêver avec ces merveilles.